particularly the design programs. But it's too soon for us to really say where we're going to end up, because the process continues even up until now. It's been a very slow evolving year, and I don't know if this is true of other schools generally, but I know it's true at some, and this is in independent or private higher education, that the process is just more attenuated and filled with more uncertainty. So what looked very bad in some places at the beginning has turned out to be not so bad, and what looked like a little bit off at the beginning in other places is turning out to actually be pretty good.
I've been hearing from a lot of families, I speak to thousands of students and parents over the course of a year, that they're looking to cut the college costs but not compromise on quality. And I kind of refer to this as a Walmart effect. They want it at a bargain price, but they still want the same education. So the families have been looking more towards public colleges, that especially due to the savings from in-state tuition. They've also been looking at the elite colleges that have these no loans policies, where if you have financial aid, there will be no loans in the financial aid package. Some 5 dozen, a little more than 5 dozen colleges have adopted such policies, including the entire Ivy League. There's also been more emphasis on the community college detour. You go to a community college for 2 years and then transfer to a 4-year institution. And there's been a lot of concern in the higher education policy area about the potential impact of this on ultimate graduation rates. There was a study from the National Bureau of Economic Research that found that there was a 14.5% penalty in bachelor degree attainment over 9 years for students who went to a community college intending to obtain a bachelor's degree versus students who started off at a 4-year institution. There's also a recent Federal Reserve study from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis that found that there's a permanent income deficit for students who obtain the bachelor's degree via community college detour as compared to students who start off at a 4-year institution. It's $2,269. Another trend that I've been seeing has been a sharp increase in application rates for financial aid. In 2008 versus 2007, the number of FAFSA submitted increased by 10.5%. It's more than 1 million additional students applying for federal student aid. The first quarter of 2009 versus the first quarter in 2008, it's up 20.8% year over year. Very significant increase. We prepared some slides that show foreclosure rates and also the by state, and also the FAFSAs by state. And you can see the same general, and it's not a perfect correlation, but it's very similar to the slides where the students have the greatest concern. You have on the coastal states where there's higher foreclosure rates, there tends to be more applications, which we'll see in the next slide, as well as in the center of the country, there tends to be less of an increase in foreclosure rates. And if looking at the states that had the top FAFSAs in the first quarter of 2009, I mean, it's Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Florida, and these are vacation spots, these places where people have second homes, where there was a lot more of a housing bubble to burst, and more that have been affected to a greater degree by the economy.
I'm particularly interested in this huge sample of parents translated over time from what are you thinking about to what did you actually do, and focusing particularly on lower income families. Discovered that indeed income does make a difference. There are confounding variables, and the most important and interesting confounding variable, which I hope to talk about some more during our conversation today, is so-called merit aid. That's the last time you're going to hear me use that phrase. I believe that that's an infelicitous term, and that the more appropriate term is strategic pricing. Schools that have engaged in strategic pricing, and I'm looking across just this year, a client sample of well over 50, just under 100. Clients that have engaged in strategic pricing have more often achieved institutional goals all across the income spectrum than those who have stuck mainly or with slight deviation to a need-based approach. So there's a confounding variable, and it's a big one, and that has to do with folks who've actually used strategic pricing, that is, aid over and above or complementary to need-based aid as a basis for framing broad-term strategies that don't just include numbers, but also include quality, diversity, and of course net revenue. I'll end with a quote from Henry Clay, because I think this is important for us to understand. And there's a hidden variable in all this, and it has to do with folks who best understand mission and who have had good years despite, and there are asterisks in every category of folks who surprisingly have done well and others who may not have done so well. Henry Clay's quote is, "Statistics are no substitute for judgment," and I could look at it the other way as well and say that judgment is no, in and of itself, substitute for statistics, and the folks that have done well and beat the odds, come out above the mean, have for the most part, even exceptions to this rule, have been those who have used judgment founded, based on good statistics.